welcome you. Tune into Market Cafe with me, Ankita Saxena, and with me is Uncle Mishra. Good morning to everyone. Well, in the next 1 hour, we'll take you through how the global markets have fared, how the crude is fared, and also the cues to watch out for today's trading session, and how can you place your bets before the trading session starts. But first up, let's take stock of how the US markets, ended the day. Good days coming in, Uncle, for US markets. In fact, the US markets are sitting at their all-time high, especially the Nasdaq, where there is renewed interest in the tech stocks.
Yes, definitely markets at an all-time high. S&P 500, Nasdaq 100 rallied to a new high. And why it has happened? Because of a few of the stocks which will S&P 500 actually edged closer to an all-time high, whereby you can see a sharp recovery from April lows despite persistent concerns over tariffs, geopolitical tensions and inflation. The benchmark index rose 0.8% and bringing its weekly gain to around 3% and putting it just shy of February intraday record high of 6,147. If you talk about Nasdaq, that added 1% to finish 1% high at the close of the day, also nearing a fresh peak, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average climbed to 404 points or around 1% to end at 43,386. Now markets moved to session highs after White House spokesperson did downplay the importance of July tariff deal deadlines.
All right, so that's how the US markets rallied, but US stock futures are a little changed. Investors are waiting and watching out for the inflation data that is likely to come out today, and everybody is watching out for that, and so is the Fed. But let's take stock of how the crude fared then. As far as crude prices are concerned, crude prices, crude prices have seen this sharp decline after the sharp uptick that we saw. It was trading at those sub 70 levels. It's still sub 70, but we did see it inch up a little higher, and that is on the back of a couple of reasons. One, the recovery in the losses that we saw came in from the fact that there is renewed interest in the fact that the US demand is improving. The second reason is that the inventory stockpile fell, and also we do see some bit of a respite coming in on the Israel-Iran conflict front, and on the back of that we did see some bit of a recovery coming in on Brent crude oil and WTI as well. So if you look at the where it's poised at, Brent crude is at $68 a barrel and WTI is at $65.54 a barrel. So a slight tick up that we see coming in on the back of demand signals for crude.
And also it will be important what happens in the next OPEC meet, because the expectation is that there is going to be an output hike. But shifting focus to our domestic markets, and we have Snehi who will tell which are the cues to watch.
Well, yes, good morning. Yesterday's expiry has been a stellar trading day for the markets. You had Nifty that closed with gains of about 1.1% and very good moves coming in for the Nifty, because we just closed shy of that 25,500 mark. Sensex to a 1.2% uptick came in yesterday's trading session and ended almost at the day's highest point for the Nifty and the Sensex. Similarly for the broader end of the market as well, though they largely underperformed the benchmark indices. You had Nifty, mid cap and small cap that also closed in the green with gains of about 0.6 and 0.4% respectively. What did very well, absolutely well in yesterday's trading session was Nifty Bank. Fresh record high coming in for Nifty Bank, and within that you have HDFC Bank that was also in focus, because in the last couple minutes of trade yesterday, HDFC Bank has also inched its fresh record high levels, crossing that 2,000 rupees per share mark for the first time ever. Other than that, select names from the Nifty pack like Shriram Finance, Jio Financial, Bharti Airtel, Tata Steel, Hindalco, they did well. On the flip side, some pressure was there on Dr. Reddy's on the back of a negative note coming in from Citi and Tech Mahindra, both of them for the same reason, followed by Wipro, Hero Moto and M&M. These were some stocks that were in pressure in yesterday's trade. It was very important to note where the India VIX closed yesterday, a 3% cut coming in on that index. So around the 12.5 mark is where we've closed for India VIX as well. Very good and very positive levels coming over there. If you take a look at the sectoral gainers and losers today, topping the charts was Nifty Metal with names like Hindustan Copper, SAIL, Jindal Steel, Nalco. Followed by that, you had financial services, energy, banks, FMCG, auto, PSU banks. Pharma and IT closed on the flat line, and media and realty. In fact, Nifty Realty was the biggest losing sector in yesterday's trading session. If you take a look at the technicals, when we interacted with our experts yesterday, Jatin Geria believes that the markets today could open on a positive note, and the resistance to watch out will be 25 750 on the upside. And Kunal Bothra also believes that if the positivity continues for the markets, resistance could be seen at 25,800 with support levels around 25,500. So watch out for these levels and watch out for if you're able to sustain these gains in today's trade as well.
All right, well, these are the levels to watch out for as far as the benchmark indices are concerned. Let's talk about the stocks that we need to watch out for. Rabinder is standing by with all the stocks that are going to be buzzing in trade today. Rabinder, take us through all the stocks that will be in focus today.
Well, firstly, let's start with NTPC, where company has announced that the Unit 3 of 660 megawatt of Bharat Super Thermal Power Project is declared commercial operation with effect from 1st July, and with this the total installed and commercial capacity NTPC on a standalone and group basis will come at 60,978 megawatt and 82,080 megawatt respectively. Apart from this, Ultratech Cement can be in focus, where company announced commissioning of the second cement grinding mill with a capacity of 1.8 MTPA at the company's unit located at Madhya Pradesh, and with this the company's consolidated domestic grey cement capacity stand at 186.86 MTPA along with its overseas capacity of 5.4 MTPA, and the company's global cement capacity stand at 192.26 MTPA. Apart from this, IT stock HCL Tech can be in focus, where company has expanded partnership with Salesforce to accelerate enterprise adoption of agentic AI with new series. Moving to next, Adani Enterprise can be in focus, where Adani Connex Private Limited, which is a joint venture of the company, has completed the acquisition of 100% stake of Garthik Realtors Private Limited, and the acquisition is done at a purchase consideration of approx 86 crore. And lastly, Mahindra Lifespace can be in focus, where Mahindra Lifespace has been Mulund West redevelopment project worth of rupees 1250 crore. So back of this, Mahindra Lifespace can be in focus.
All right, Rabinder, thank you so much for that update. And we have Pulkit ready with all the dissection of FNO data and how should you read it. Pulkit, over to you.
Sure. So if we talk about the FNO positions that have built up after the monthly expiry, so let's start with the India VIX. The current value of India VIX is around 12.6, which was earlier 12.97. If we talk about the PCR changes, that is the put call ratio, so for Nifty it is 1.21 and for Bank Nifty it is 1.09. Both are in a comfortable position, no need to worry about it. If we talk about the index futures changes in the open interest of in the futures, so it is around 13.38% positive and the trend is long build up. And the most active options, that is in both in call and put. So for call it is 25,500 and for put it is 25,400, and the trend is call buying and the put writing. The highest open interest is 25,000 and 26,500. For put it is 26,500 and for call it is 26,500 itself. For Bank Nifty, the index futures change in open interest is 45.52%, and that is a long build up. So it is clearly showing the positiveness. And the highest open interest for both put and call, it is 56,000. For FI long position, it is 37.92%. For DI, it is 61.37%. And for retail, it is 53.52%. If we talk about the securities in ban, so there are no securities in ban currently. So if there would be anything, we will update you tomorrow. Thank you.
All right, moving on from the FNO data to the cues that you need to be watching out for today. My colleague Snehi is standing by with all the cues that you need to keep on your radar. Over to you, Snehi.
Well, yes, lots of cues are going to be important to track. So let's start by looking at some action back home. In India is going to be in focus in terms of industrial production data. Globally also a lot is going to be happening. First up, let's start by talking about the US and why Wall Street could be in focus today. It's because you have some important economic indicators like personal income, the PCE price index. Remember, this is the Fed's preferred gauge of inflation in the US economy, and this metric is going to be particularly important to watch out for given the kind of Fed commentary that we've been hearing over the course of the week. Along with this, you also have University of Michigan consumer sentiment data. From Eurozone, you have consumer confidence to watch out for. China industrial profits data will be in focus, and from Japan you have Tokyo CPI. So inflation print from Japan also is going to be in focus, along with unemployment and retail sales numbers. But shifting focus back home, HAL will be key to watch out for because the board is going to be meeting to mull dividend, and the likes of Cipla, Syngene, Bajaj Finserv and HDFC Bank will be trading ex-dividend. In terms of AGMs, annual general meetings, watch out for PNB, Bank of India and GSK Pharma. And in terms of some other events, Fed commentary will continue because the Fed will release the results of its annual bank stress test. You also have the Fed Governor Lisa Cook, who's all set to speak, and from the ECB you have Governing Board member Oli Ren, who's also all set to speak. So watch out for all of these important cues that we'll be tracking.
All right, Snehi, thank you so much for those details. We'll definitely watch out those events. But what is happening globally will definitely impact emerging markets and as well as India. I have with me Seth Freeman, Senior Managing Director of Glass Retina Advisory and Capital Group. Welcome, Seth. My first question to you is, you have seen what happened in the US. What is your pick in among the emerging markets per se?
Well, this rally and almost hitting a new high today is very positive because it looks like risk is back on.
Freeman, good morning. This is Ankita also joining in. In fact, that was my question. You really think that the risk on sentiment is back on the table? Because one thing is very clear, that the fact that the repercussions that would ensue perhaps from the tariffs, the Trump tariffs, that have been put to rest because the investors seem to be throwing caution to the wind, whereas Fed is really maintaining that stance that they will be watching out for what could be the possible outcome of that, and therefore they are halting the rate cuts for now. But the investors, the risk sentiment is back on the table.
Well, I'm not saying that risk on is rational. But it looks like that is the behavior that we're seeing. It might reflect just a sense of relief. We heard from Lutnick today that they signed the deal with China, that 10 top countries are about to sign deals, and maybe it partly reflects this sort of ebullience. I believe the government is pushing hard to also try to influence the Fed.
All right, we have also seen statements which is coming regarding the Federal Reserve decision. Now the result is out, but there has been expectations that there will be 2 cuts this year. What is your assessment and how will it impact market?
Well, I still believe that the Fed's position is that it's just too early to assess the impacts of tariffs because there is a lag effect. And we are seeing, reading about quite a number of layoffs from major corporations here in the United States. So there's also just concern about the reliability of the data that's available to the Fed right now. So I don't think there's going to be a rush to have a rate adjustment.
Mr. Freeman, let's talk about the dollar index. Dollar index has hit its 3-year low. In fact, it's been trading sub 100 levels. Do you really think dollar has lost its dominance? And going ahead also, how do you see that shaping up?
This might reflect concerns about the so-called big, beautiful bill and what's going to end up being passed, and the level of deficit and debt increase embedded in the bill. So that's probably what we're seeing here. I know the Treasury had a big auction recently, and it's hard to get bidders. So the dollar is weak.
So, Mr. Freeman, now that you mentioned the big beautiful bill and the fact that it will increase the trade deficit, it will increase the fiscal deficit. Talk to us about the fact that despite the looming fear of that happening, really is caution being thrown to the wind too early, too soon?
I think it's going to be a long summer in terms of looking at all of these different metrics and data points in order to get a good read. Again, there's been a lot of business planning, and at the same time, business deferrals related in terms of purchases, imports, and so forth, and supply chain issues related to the tariffs. And we're going to have to see that work its way out until we have more clarity.
All right, Mr. Freeman, thank you so much for joining at this hour and putting into perspective the global updates. But with this, it's time to take a quick break and don't go away. We'll follow up with more news and updates.
4.4% uptick coming in. A positive start is indicated. Taking a cue from the global markets, the US markets did very well yesterday. In fact, if you look at the Asian markets are also doing well, taking a leaf from the US markets. Hang Seng is right now trading with gains of 0.2%. Nikkei is up 1.5%. We also have Shanghai. Shanghai has been trading pretty flat. In fact, it is flip-flopping between the red and the green. Very, very flat moves coming in on the Shanghai right now. But Shanghai is right now has turned green right now, trading with gains of 0.3%. So Kospi, if you pull up the charts for Kospi as well, Kospi is the only index that is perhaps that is also ticked up in the green right now. It was trading in the red in the morning. It opened up in the red, but has ticked up with gains of 0.7%. So all the markets, all the Asian markets are also gaining momentum. They are gaining steam on the back of the strong opening by Wall Street. ASX 200 is also trading with gains of 0.2% right now. So at the start of the morning, we see a sea of green. All the global markets are buzzing anchor. In fact, Nifty, GIFT Nifty is also implying a good start for Indian markets as well.
Yes, the only China, as you mentioned, the only market which is flip-flopping between red and green. Only reason is that their industrial profits have fell by around 9%, and that is the reason, despite good news of US-China deal, you can see a flat kind of opening there. And also Kospi is today trading in red. Apologies for wrong numbers there. If you talk about the South Korean markets, they are actually opening in red today after a run-up of over 15%, which has happened in the last 1 month. But moving on, we have a news from Tata Group. Tata Capital has approved a rights issue of 1,752 crore equity rights, and that has happened ahead of its IPO. The board also approved debt issuance of over 30,000 crore in private placement. My colleague Anjali is joining with more details.
Tata Capital has approved a rupee 1,752 crore equity rights sale ahead of its upcoming IPO. The board of Tata Capital approved this fundraise plan, and the company informed the exchanges in a filing about this decision. Additionally, the board has also approved a debt issuance totaling up to rupees 30,000 crore, and this is in private placement. The Securities and Exchange Board of India recently approved the draft documents that were filed by the company for an initial public offering. And now if we take a quick look at the current shareholding pattern of Tata Capital, then Tata Sons owns almost 93% equity stake in Tata Capital, and some details about the upcoming IPO. The IPO will be through an issue of new shares as well as offer for sales by Tata Sons and the existing holders. Tata Capital will issue 23 crore new equity shares in its IPO, and the company is said to be planning an IPO of about $2 billion according to sources. Now, why Tata Capital is listing its shares is because Tata Capital is treated by RBI rules as an upper layer NBFC, as well as Tata Sons is also an upper layer NBFCs, and RBI guidelines mandate that these upper layer NBFCs have to list within 3 years, and therefore Tata Capital's board has now cleared this fundraise plan for an equity rights sale as well as a debt issuance which will be done in a private placement.
All right, so the entire Tata Group is going to be in focus today on the back of that. But let's move on then. Sources tell your channel that government is in final stage of approving remaining ISM-1 proposals for semiconductor projects, and it will secure clearance in the next 2 to 3 months. Some of the big names like HCL, Foxconn, TSAT, Micron Technology have committed large investments in the semicon projects. Sumita is joining in with more details on that.
Right, government sources suggest that the present dispensation is in the final stage of approving remaining ISM-1 proposals for semiconductor projects, and these proposals could come in the next 2-3 months alone. And in fact, remaining proposals under ISM-1 are there for setting up 80 MP and OSAT units. In fact, for the ISM-1 program, nearly 61,000 crores have been committed by the government, and now the industry is waiting for ISM-2 scheme. We're also given to understand from sources that the India Semiconductor Mission 2 will be fabrication focused, as India needs 15 to 20 fabs by 2030 is essentially what government sources have also indicated. And there could be separate quotas then for power chips, display, RAM, specialty chemicals, gases and materials manufacturing. In fact, the scheme could be largely focused on design and manufacturing as well. Remember, the India Semiconductor Mission was unveiled in 2021 with financial incentives of 76,000 crores for the overall scheme. And as of now, there are several semiconductor plants that have been announced and are at the various stages of functioning. For instance, you have the HCL Foxconn plant, Kane Semiconductor project, CG Power, Renesas Electronics, Micron Technology. Well, that was the first plant to be announced, first project to be announced. And Tata, along with PSMC, is also setting up a fab with investments worth 91,000 crores. And then Tata Semiconductor Assembly and Test Facility, that is also coming up, even as the government is looking at rolling out its first locally made chip launch soon.
All right, moving on, sources tell ET now that Finance Minister is scheduled to chair annual review of meeting with PSU banks. My colleague Prakash Priyadarshi joins with more details.
Yeah, that's an important development coming in, as the Finance Minister is going to chair an important meeting with public sector banks, wherein the Secretary Department of Financial Services, heads of the public sector banks and other senior officials will be present. A very significant development coming in. This is an annual review meeting with public sector banks where their financial performance based on defined parameters will be reviewed. Along with that, some other issues are likely to be discussed as well, and one of them is, of course, declining deposit growth, which is a major concern for banks at this point of time. In fact, the Finance Minister had already given clear instruction and suggestions to the banks to take necessary steps to increase deposit growth. In fact, banks were told to announce some innovative product to attract depositors. Therefore, it is expected that the Finance Minister will be apprised by the banks about the steps they have taken so far and their strategy going forward. In addition to that, credit growth to sunrise sector is one area where the government is providing its focus. It is expected that the DFS Secretary will make a presentation about the steps that the department has taken so far. Issues such as digital infrastructure, cyber security, status of NPA recovery may come during course of discussion. Status of government's flagship scheme may be discussed as well, as the government is trying to achieve a saturation in various sectors.
All right, moving on, SEBI has extended rebalancing timeline to all the mutual funds. Now, why this passive mutual fund kind of rebalancing was needed earlier? You would have seen that it was applied to certain asset allocation, but now SEBI has said it will apply uniformly. And how does this breach happen? This breach does not happen on behalf of mutual funds or any kind of balancing which is done by them, but actually it may happen through price movements, it may happen through other announcement from the corporates. But now a uniform deadline will be there. The deadline will be 30 days, and that will be applied to all the mutual fund passive breaches from SEBI.
All right, moving on then, that's the word coming in as far as SEBI news is concerned. But let's move on to the next, let's move on to some of the teasers of what can you expect today. Well, we have Anand Radhakrishnan from Sundaram Mutual Fund at 9:20 who will be weighing in on the markets. You also have other lineup of guests. We will also have Anuj Puri, who's coming in from Anarok Group, and Ronald who's coming from ICICI Securities, who will be joining us. Besides that, we have Deepan Mehta from Elixir Equities at 9:55 a.m. with Sandeep Agarwal, who will be joining us on what's next for the IT pack. We also have two guests on the aviation sector, Devesh Agarwal and Mayur Milik, who will be joining us to weigh in on the aviation sector at 10:10 a.m.
All right, with this, it's time to take a quick break, but don't go away. More news and updates will follow on the other side.
When the stakes are high and the answers are elusive, there's one voice unafraid to challenge the status quo.
At 8 p.m., I am not here to sugarcoat the truth. I am here to ask the hard questions.
For three nations, a new chapter in space takes flight.
मैं अपने शोल्डर पे अपना तिरंगा जो मैं लेके चल रहा हूँ, मैं मानता हूँ कि आप सब मेरे साथ हैं और मुझे लगता है कि अगले 14 दिन बहुत ही एक्साइटिंग जाने वाले हैं। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद, जय भारत।
And well, the Dragon capsule has docked at the International Space Station as part of the Axiom 14 mission. The crew are expected to perform multiple scientific experiments over the next 2 weeks. Subhanshu Shukla scripts history as he becomes the first Indian on board the International Space Station.
Defense Minister Rajnath Singh held meeting with Chinese Defense Minister during his visit to attend SCO, Defense Ministers meeting in China. He added that both sides have constructive and forward-looking exchange of views on issues pertaining to bilateral relations. He also expressed happiness on restarting of the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra after a gap of nearly 6 years.
A special evacuation flight for Armenia landed in New Delhi, bringing home 173 nationals from Iran as a part of Operation Sindhu. A total of 4,415 Indian nationals and over 3,500 from Iran and more than 800 from Israel have been evacuated so far using 19 special evacuation flights.
Fresh outrage erupts in Dhaka as makeshift Durga temple was demolished despite protests by local Hindus. Meanwhile, India has slammed the UNIS-led interim government and expressed deep concerns over the failure of safeguarding Hindu religious right, calling it a serious violation of minority protections.
In Puri, preparations are in full swing for the Grand Jagannath Rath Yatra today. The administration confirmed that the 3 chariots are in place for the Yatra. Rituals inside the temple are ongoing and elaborate security measures, including NSG deployment, are in place to ensure a smooth event.
And shifting focus to global developments, the White House is signaling flexibility on Trump's looming tariff deadlines. Press Secretary Levitt said that July 8 and 9 dates for steep new duties on imports may not be set in stone, adding that they are not critical and could be extended. Trump had earlier paused his so-called reciprocal tariffs to allow trade talks with Europe and other nations.
The U.S. economy contracted a bit faster than expected in the first quarter. This comes amid tepid consumer spending, which is led by U.S. President's aggressive tariff announcements. Gross domestic product decreased at a downwardly revised 0.5% annualized rate last quarter, and 0.2% estimate was 2.2% estimates. And remember, the Federal Reserve, along with other forecasters, have reduced its U.S. growth outlook for this year.
Meanwhile, in US, jobless claims have come in lower than expectations. Number of US citizens filing for first-time unemployment claims fell by 10,000 to come in at 2,36,000 in June 21 week. This is lower than what analysts were penciling in. Additionally, the prior week's claims were revised up to 2,46,000 from earlier 2,45,000. Meanwhile, continuing claims were reported at 1.97 million in the June 14 week, and this is the highest since November 2021.
And the US and China have struck a framework deal to accelerate rare earth exports to US following talks in Geneva and London. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick says China will resume shipments, and in return Washington will roll back some trade countermeasures. Trump called the deal done, but it still awaits final approval from Chinese President Xi Jinping.
Representative Jameson Greer is very busy because, where are you, Jameson? Everybody wants to make a deal and have a part of it, right? I know you and Howard and Scott are working overtime, making deals with other countries. Remember a few months ago, the press was saying, do you really have anybody of any interest? Well, we just signed with China yesterday, right? Just signed with China. We have everybody. We're not going to make deals with everybody. Some we're just going to send them a letter, say, thank you very much. You're going to pay 25, 35, 45%. That's the easy way to do it. And my people don't want to do it that way. They want to do some of it, but they want to make more deals than I would do. But we're having some great deals. We have one coming up, maybe with India, very big one, where we're going to open up India. In the China deal, we're starting to open up China, things that never really could have happened. And the relationship with every country has been very good.
So Donald Trump clearly hinting a deal with India is possible very soon. But moving on in a fresh salvo in China's EV price war, Xiaomi is taking direct aim at Tesla. The tech giant unveiled its new electric SUV, the YU7, priced around $35,000. Its CEO said the car beats the Model Y on key specifications like admits, but it lacks in driver's assist. Still, early excitement is sky high. Over 2 lakh pre-ordered rolled in within just 3 minutes. Within 3 minutes of the launch, actually, and these orders were received.
And that's leading to another shake-up at Tesla. CEO Musk has fired Umaid Afshar, who the company's vice president for manufacturing and operations. Afshar, a top lieutenant, reporting directly to Musk, oversaw key execs across global sales and policy. His ouster follows a year of declining sales in Tesla's core markets. Afshar was previously under internal investigation in 2022 over orders for rare construction materials linked to a secret Musk project. Neither Afshar nor Tesla has confirmed the exact.
In his first public statement since ceasefire, Iran's supreme leader boldly claimed victory over Israel, saying ceasefire was forced on Tel Aviv. He warned the United States that Iran retains the capability to strike US targets across the region whenever it deems necessary, and said any future aggression would come at a heavy price. In fact, he congratulated Iran on resisting US efforts, saying US intervened to save Israel but ultimately failed. He declared the Zionist regime was practically knocked out under Iran's blows. These remarks follow weeks of intense conflict, including airstrike exchange between Iran and Israel and US bombing of Iranian nuclear sites. The region remains tense with fragile peace hanging by a thread.
All right, with that, it's time for us to sip into a short break. Don't go anywhere. On the other side, we'll be back with more updates. Stay tuned.
When the stakes are high and the answers are elusive, there's one voice unafraid to challenge the status quo.
At 8 p.m., I am not here to sugarcoat the truth. I am here to ask the hard questions. Because when others play it safe, I go straight to the heart of the matter.
Orders of rare construction minerals linked to a secret Musk project. Neither Afshar nor Tesla has commented on the exact.
On to some key earnings on Wall Street. Nikkei have outrun expectations, but new hurdles are hitting hard. The company beat earnings and revenue forecast for the quarter, yet revealed that it is bracing for $1 billion hit for this fiscal year, and this is due to tariffs. Despite the turbulence, Nikkei expects the profit and sales declines to ease ahead.
All right, the latest greenhouse gas index shows a rather worrying increase, with the CO2 and methane levels at record level highs. This surge is driving global temperatures upwards, fueling extreme weather and threatening food and water security. At the India Climate Summit, carbon efficiency and offsetting are in sharp focus as India and the world race towards net zero targets.
With this, it's time to say goodbye in this edition of Market Cafe. Thanks for watching.
when the stakes are high and the answers are elusive. There's one voice unafraid to challenge the status quo.
At 8 p.m., I am not here to sugarcoat the truth. I am here to ask the hard questions. Because when others play it safe, I go straight to the heart of the matter. It's not about left or right. It's about what